So yeah, the pleasure of coming last is I'm probably going to be repeating a lot of themes that you've heard already. So 3 years ago, I led the tech services team at one of Lilly's monoclonal antibody manufacturing sites. And I constantly lamented that my team was spending all of their effort on brute force just to get the information to do their jobs. And I guess my management eventually listened to these complaints because my co-author, Anthony McGuire, and I were offered new data strategy roles, which essentially meant go fix it. So we quickly understood that the key to the digital future was taking the steps to actually enable it. There's broad agreement both within Lilly and across the industry about the aspirational goals: faster commercialization, instantly having a pulse on whether the process is working correctly or not, easy data exploration, and just those repetitive periodic reports. Just push a button and generate that for me. I don't want to think. But when we evaluated the challenges to achieving those aspirations, it came down to two common roadblocks. Come on. Hello. Doesn't seem to be advancing. There we go. The first is that no matter how elegant the newest IT tool for dashboards and analytics and reports, their efficiency and effectiveness was hindered by a persistent need for manual data conditioning and pre-work to feed the information into these automated systems. The second is that accessing data, and especially knowing that the desired data set is complete and accurate, is not as easy as it should be. The way forward to these aspirations is to take a break from creating more analysis tools, what I refer to as the output side, until we can improve the foundation on which they rely. In the case of process knowledge, a digitalized process definition it's still not advancing correctly, but that's okay. A digitalized process definition in PLM is a key enabler. But more broadly, we need efficient electronic connectivity to all of the information that the cross-functional partnership that is pharmaceutical manufacturing, making medicine, operations, quality, engineering, technical services, they all rely upon standardized data structure with ongoing lifecycle management and disciplined data governance to make sure it doesn't break every time we make the heroic effort to fix it. In short, we need to set a sustainable foundation that identifies and maintains a single source of truth for any given category of information, such that all users go to the same well-organized, already verified source for that information. We know that exchanging product and process information across an organization is fundamental to making medicine. Given the simultaneous increase in the number and complexity of products, as we discussed before, the enterprise will not be able to keep up by using our existing paper-based approaches. And again, as said, paper, PDF, I'm going to use those terminology interchangeably. It doesn't matter that it's in an electronic repository. It matters whether you get to the information content. The desired future state is a dynamic digital product and process definition instead of those static PDFs. But even more so, to establish a single source of truth for this information with connectivity to all the customers who need to access this information to do their respective roles. Whether that be tech transfer, regulatory submissions, manufacturing execution, batch release, supply chain flavor management, or advanced data analytics. Note that the single source of truth does not imply that one system holds all truth, but rather that PLM can establish a single source of truth for the appropriate information that feeds into this wide variety of activities alongside similarly digitalized and maintained sources of truth. So here's the money slide, our product knowledge management vision. If we can digitalize our product and process definition in a single centralized system, a wide variety of business processes and IT systems can have a common source to access harmonized product and process information, ensuring alignment spanning from nomenclature to dynamically updated process parameter and specification ranges, removing reliance on tribal knowledge, eliminating duplication and transcription errors, and providing data integrity by design. Examples of improved business processes include streamlined tech transfer and product control strategy development, reliable data at your fingertips for batch release to appropriate markets, as well as enabling efficient regulatory dossier generation, including CASA, IDMP, whichever structured data you choose, regulatory submissions. Integration with LIMS, MES, DCS, data historian creates a data-rich environment with context, enabling enhanced analytics solutions and one-touch reports. I often draw the analogy that PLM defines the data structure, like the branches of a tree, where the execution data collected from each respective batch are simply a new set of leaves for that same tree. This vision represents a generic value proposition for PLM as an enhancement to a data management capability, rather than a specific software capability assessment. Every biopharma-oriented PLM has its own strengths and weaknesses, so full realization of this vision will involve working with the selected vendor to extend the product capabilities across this end-to-end vision. In the course of our platform selection, we reviewed several of these business processes as use cases. The common themes of the various work streams included visibility to process history, clear understanding of current process definition, consistent terminology across all sites and functions, and immediate access to whatever information was needed to answer the question of the day. So to illustrate this vision, let's consider the life cycle of a specification. The current single source of truth is a document published when the Corporate Specification Committee agrees on a proposed set of specifications coming from development, which is duly approved in the electronic document management system after careful data integrity review. Tech transfer begins with transcription into methods and specification documents at a manufacturing site, along with transcription into LIMS, and various process validation documents and associated data integrity review, alongside transcription into regulatory submissions with more data integrity review, where the regulatory review might result in alterations of these specifications across different health authorities, which then need to be updated in the site documents. And meanwhile, the same thing is happening in parallel between drug substance, drug product, device sites, so that the collective batch data needs to be aggregated in a data lake before applying any e-release algorithms or data analytics. Finally, any subsequent process changes, secondary sites, or new product presentations drive additional transcriptions through all of these systems. That's why I affectionately call this our chaos diagram. Each of these information movements by transcription represent a risk from a data integrity perspective. Yet, we rely on accurate, health authority-specific specification management to release the right batch to the right market. That right product, right country challenge is the lens through which we can look at a more efficient and reliable future state, which is at least a four-dimensional problem. Different health authorities will approve a product at different times or require distinct specifications or analytical methods, creating an approval landscape that changes over time. Then site additions or second-generation processes and or methods may gain approvals from different health authorities at different times, propagating the dynamic change in truth on any given day. The only way to keep up with this is to centralize and streamline the tracking of current state. We don't need to change the way the decision-making bodies deliberate and approve specifications and process parameters. We only need to migrate these approved outcomes from static reports into a dynamic database, in this case, PLM. Authoring of regulatory submissions can then draw specifications and process descriptions directly from the verified data in PLM without need for separate data integrity review. Any negotiations with health authorities during dossier review occur with the same experts at the table, except that the resulting approved decisions, again, are recorded in PLM, versioned by corresponding health authority. Then all of the business processes and execution systems that use this information access that information electronically through validated connections with no need for transcription. Note that all of the verification happens on the way into PLM. The users, whether they be human or electronic, rely on this previously verified single source of truth. Put simply, the carefully maintained document level index in our regulatory information management system does not overcome the need when we need to look at a particular specification and whether it is the same across markets, of pulling up the PDFs of the different health authority approved specifications and pulling out your proverbial highlighter and looking at the differences. What we want to move to is a dynamic content level index to replace that document level indexing. So that now, as we look at what are the differences in the specification on a given CQA or the ranges on a given process parameter that are approved to date, that's simply a database query to pull up those specific items and look at the ranges side by side at the push of one button. If we get another approval tomorrow, that same query will simply add one more data point to this result. This can also help us just in managing those regulatory negotiations. With the confidence that we know what those differences are, we can have more informed discussions at the various times that we're negotiating with different health authorities to say, can we please harmonize this? You're not asking us for a significant difference. So let's look a little more closely at the value proposition of my original theme, building a digital foundation based on bringing the often discussed single source of truth to life. First, defining a digital process description composed of dynamic product and process data allows our specialized and highly skilled workforce to spend their time on higher value, potentially more strategic initiatives to grow our business or to reach more patients more quickly. instead of spending the majority of their time just searching for the information. Second, the deployment of manufacturing processes across multiple sites, often located in and supplying product to different countries, is enabled by connected information flows that directly synchronize the common elements, the vast majority of the process, while allowing for equipment or country-specific variations on the theme, or flavors, which are in turn linked to the approved markets. Third, lifecycle management of parameters and specifications at an element level facilitates structured data regulatory submissions with ready access to the evolution and versioning of that data. This interconnected value proposition of faster commercialization, robust flavor management, and streamlined regulatory submission is why the digital foundation is so critical, providing data integrity by design at the source. Luke stole my line. The blunt truth is that without this focus on the digital foundation, your knowledge management framework sits on a foundation of quicksand. This end-to-end approach clearly has many elements that need to be integrated into an overall deployment strategy. That's a big, possibly multi-year integration project that needs to be assembled across multiple work streams, including product control strategy and tech transfer, materials management, product recipe builds, CMC regulatory, right product, right country, and execution systems and analytics. Ultimately, the ease of collaboration across these functions is the greatest value proposition of the digital foundation enabled by PLM. So in conclusion, let's return to a different view of our knowledge management vision, separating the individual workflows for full implementation once PLM as a critical foundational element is in place. While this segmentation allows efficient project management, the guiding principles remain consistent. Bring the single source of truth concept to life. Rely on this disciplined data mastering philosophy to eliminate duplication, achieving data integrity by design. Establish and enforce data standards through a well-designed data governance framework to enable integration across all the systems involved in the desired output side tools, the aspirational capabilities I discussed in the introduction. This new way of managing information facilitates streamlined approval at the parameter level instead of entire documents when only a fraction of the content changes. Traceability to the why. Ready access to what defines different product flavors, with the end goal of a common process definition entered only once, but readily shared across the end-to-end value chain. So finally, I'd like to acknowledge some key contributors to this effort. First, my co-author, Anthony McGuire, who's based in Ireland and couldn't make the trip over for this brief conference. Next, the many subject matter experts we consulted and torture-tested concepts with. Too many names to fit on one slide, and I'd probably miss someone anyway. I'd also like to thank my colleagues in Tech at Lilly, our IT group, as well as Accenture Life Sciences and Whitney, who's sitting here, who helped facilitate our exploration and planning in this space. Thank you.